consumers lose about $8 billion annually. Companies lose hundreds of billions of dollars each year. And we need to trust the internet because we do everything online. But it came back to telling a story rather than pitching a product, and telling the story and painting the vision really goes a long way in preparing a good fundraising pitch. Startups are all about iteration and about small changes every day and about relentless execution. Ultimately, if you're customer oriented, you have a business, otherwise, you don't.
But just to get that division sorted, what are some key advantages as being a woman that we really get, and what are some key challenges that we really face when we march out on the entrepreneurship journey?
I realized rather than trying to conform to a traditional mold that was created by someone else, I think the next problem I want to solve is
Namaskar. Welcome to Passionate Pulse podcast. I'm so excited to bring on a guest today who is known as a self made woman, and the Forbes announced her name in the world's top 50 women in tech. MIT had accredited her as one of the innovators under 35 in 2017, and the entire India and Indian immigrants are proud to have this daughter who has created a footprint on global map and created a history in tech entrepreneurship to innovate a new technology in data streaming and today owning $1 billion company. We are proud to present none other than Neha Narkhede, founder of a Confluent company and now marching another journey in fintech world with the newly found company Osciller with a partner. Let's hear from her some of the best tips in entrepreneurship world and how to lead and lean on to the strengths and create an impact with the unique superpowers that every individual possesses. Hi Neha.
hi, Pranali. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing your time. I'm so excited to have you here and understand your journey. There are many women like me and many other who are into the tech space looking forward how to really march their journeys, but they don't know, or probably they are not taking that right unshackled step that they should have been. So we like to, unfold you from that point of view. How was your journey from Confluent to Osciller, taking out two different spaces altogether? Maybe I'll just start long back where you started as a founder engineer at Apache Kafka and eventually taking up the Confluent. So what side of, the inspiring moments or the breakthroughs that you would like to share through your experience to our viewers, while transitioning from software engineer to getting onto the entrepreneurship or starting a tech startup?
Yeah, there were actually quite a few moments of learning as well as triumphs. First was experiencing the idea to impact journey. So one of the most inspiring aspects was seeing how an idea like Apache Kafka could transform into a platform that impacts businesses globally. So witnessing Kafka evolve from a project to address LinkedIn's data processing needs to a foundational technology adopted by numerous companies was a really profound experience. So that was one. The second I remember was realizing the business potential. So a significant breakthrough was realizing and harnessing the business potential of Kafka. So understanding how to monetize and scale an open source project without compromising its core values and community was a really delicate balance that required strategic thinking and innovation. So I really enjoyed that. The entrepreneurial mindset was critical as well. It's transitioning to entrepreneurship from a software engineer required resilience, adaptability, continuous learning, humility, challenges like funding, product roadmap, landing customers, scaling teams, were really a lot of learning opportunities that shaped not just the company, but also my personal growth. And I would say last but not the least was for me learning the art of leadership. As an entrepreneur, I had to quickly master leadership skills by inspiring and aligning diverse teams towards common goals and making impactful decisions that shaped both the product and the company's direction. So really my journey from a software engineer to an entrepreneur in bringing Apache Kafka to life was filled with lots of moments of learning, challenges, and triumphs.
So when you said about, it was an open source software before and that had to, scale up or, kind of running around a business around that, that was a very much challenging aspect. And when you're in the mindset of developing something, you don't have the mindset of, how to monetize or getting that entrepreneurship going and of course the leadership. So how was your initial idea for the go-to market strategy types, What was some of the A to B testing, or what was some of the things that you did to figure out that this will monetize? And also, extending to that question, if you had to start all over new right now, what were the right changes or the adjustments you think you could have taken before quickly ramp up that journey?
There were a couple things, but here's my approach to approaching any new problem that might turn into a company. The very first one is identifying a real gap in the market. So at LinkedIn, we identified a gap in real-time data processing and streaming, which led to the creation of Apache Kafka. This was not just a technical exercise, but a solution to a very pressing business challenge. So that was one. The second one, which should follow that, is validating the need for that solution. So Kafka's adoption within LinkedIn proved its value. We then looked at the broader market where similar data challenges existed, validating the need beyond our initial use case. The third was community first approach, which is particularly relevant for an open source project. With Kafka being open source, we engaged with the community early on. This helped in refining the product, building a user base, establishing Kafka as a reliable and scalable solution. As closed source product like Osciller, this is replaced by a customer first approach, right? You do a lot of customer research to figure out what are the gaps, what are the challenges, what does an ideal solution look like. And with all that research, Confluent as well as Osciller was started is first of all, recognizing Kafka's potential and need for enterprise grade features, we founded Confluent. And our strategy was to build upon Kafka's success, offering additional tools and services that made it easier for enterprises to adopt Kafka's. We had a very enterprise first vision. We took the time to understand what is the difference between offering free software as well as paid software and really build towards it. And while doing that, we balanced open source and commercial interests because they can sometimes be at odds, but it's really important to know how to strike that balance to keep the community happy as well as your customers happy. So it was, I would say, my strategy really from idea to market is very much grounded in solving a real problem that should be validated by early adoption, and that should lead to landing customers and scaling the company.
Got it. So when you found that, your first customer, and when you, kind of went around, the pricing also was something new, right? As a first time founder, especially. So how did you come at the right price point when you're selling something versus somebody is just adopting as an open source?
Yeah, pricing is really both an art as well as a science. There isn't a lot of structure around how you price a particular product, but there are some things you can do. So the first thing we did is market research to look at other comparable products and did a lot of research on what the pricing was, and then take that and kind of try it really with our customer base to see what the feedback was. Is it too high? Is it not too high? And then simply iterate on that. The third is, to align pricing with dimension of value of the product. So, if the product dimension of value is number of seats, then you price based on that dimension. Or if it's, amount of data flowing through the system, like in Apache Kafka, then you price on that dimension. So really, I think it was, a combination of multiple factors that led to us pricing our product correctly. But it's an iterative approach. It continues to be that.
Great. So this is coming like, when you have the product and you're really looking out to buy into the customers and, generate the monetization. But the major challenges lies in the fundraising. And especially as a first time founders or the first time entrepreneurs, it is even more challenging because, kind of everywhere it's a struggle, like preparing a pitch deck, which is coming to the right place with the right value proposition. So how did, you and your co-founders approach at that time to raise the right size of fund?
Well, so when preparing for fundraising and presenting our pitch for Confluent, we focused on several key steps to ensure that we effectively communicated our vision and the potential of our venture. So we started with solidifying our vision. We clarified our vision for Confluent, emphasizing how it could address market needs in real-time data processing and streaming using Apache Kafka. The second was to follow it up with building a strong monetization strategy. So we created a business strategy and a monetization vision to show investors our plan for growth, revenue models, scaling. This plan and clarity was important in proving a clear roadmap to success. The third is gathering proof points. So leveraging Kafka's success and adoption at LinkedIn, but also several other companies were crucial to our strategy. So it showcased the potential, the scalability of the product. And last but not the least is really preparing and spending time on drafting a compelling pitch. We created a pitch that showcased a 10-year vision of what the world should look like once Kafka and Confluent are fully adopted in the market. And we showcased how Kafka's technical strengths and business potential and what that looked like. And we emphasized how Confluent would bring value to enterprises and drive data management innovation. So, really, I think the fundraising process was a very meticulous one that combined a clear vision, solid market understanding. We had strong proof points, and then effective communication strategy.
Oh, good. So it essentially came down to a good collateral, a quality of a collateral that could, come across and could raise the funds.
Yeah, it came back to telling a story rather than pitching a product, and telling the story and painting the vision really goes a long way in preparing a good fundraising pitch.
So at that point of time, you were just three, or you sort of seek for the mentors to help you around validate your fundraising pitches, or how that journey was.
It was just three of us. We just spent a lot of time discussing and pitching to each other and seeing if it resonated to us, and wearing sort of an investor hat, wearing a listener's hat, see how it came across. And then we iterated a lot. We did a couple meetings and then learned a lot from that and iterated on it and finally landed with the right pitch.
Oh, wonderful. So after fundraising, let's say when you are in the shape and form to move forward, the most important aspect that comes to any startup life is right size hiring. And especially when we look at the Confluent, it has 50% of the women's leading the company at a leadership positions, which is a very different equation and a ball game to achieve. Everyone strives for it, but very few can succeed and maintains the quality of, the vision of the product and alongside the work culture that they want to maintain. So how did you sort of raise that balance? And what are some of the benefits that you say when there are 50% of the leadership is women?
Yeah, I think I have a strong belief that diverse perspectives lead to better outcomes. And when it comes to hiring, a valuable lesson that I learned in the hiring process is the importance of developing a strong, diverse, and high quality network. Often your first few hires come from within this network, which makes it very crucial to cultivate and maintain meaningful professional relationships. In addition to that, I realized that company culture plays a pivotal role in attracting the right talent. It's essential to create an inclusive environment that values not just skills and experience, but also aligns with the ethos, vision of the company, and the overall shared value system of the existing team. What we also did is we involved our team, which was already diverse, collectively in the hiring process, ensuring that new members are a fit and not just for the role, but for the team and the company culture as a whole. So this sort of collaborative and diverse approach to hiring has been very instrumental in building a cohesive and effective team that could grow a company so fast and so effectively.
So what are some of the most important qualities that you look forward whenever you hired any of the resources for the Confluent or even to Osciller that you're looking forward?
There are a couple that I look for. The first one is resilience, just how persistent the person is in going about and solving a problem. It's okay if you don't get the right answer the first time around, but how resilient and persistent you are to kind of keep iterating and coming to the answer. The second thing I look for is a real inclination for collaboration. There are very few things that you can do on your own, and you can only go so far. And to go further, you need to walk alongside a team. So I really look for, people who value that collaboration and are able to do that effectively. And the third is, I look for a certain amount of optimism in the person. It really requires a lot of shared optimism to build something meaningful and build something big, and value that a lot, and have seen better outcomes when you have generally optimistic people on the team.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a, great combination. So the first point that you said about the quality that you look forward is a resilience that, they should be really like go-getters and figure it out, kind of rebounds, wear different hats and, try to achieve the solutions. So, what type of experimental space that that one can create at their workplaces, so that every individual can thrive to achieve some different solutions or bring innovations on the table?
I think the first thing is really creating a culture of embracing mistakes and learning from it and getting second chances. It's very important to cultivate a culture where people feel comfortable making mistakes and will be proactive and will own a particular problem if they know that the culture is such that they will, the company will respect their ability to sort of solve problems even after making a couple mistakes along the way. The second thing is, developing a culture of mentorship. So, first of all, hiring people who value inputs from other people, but also having a culture where you are focused on, developing people's skills and helping them grow. And the third thing is, the ability to kind of delegate certain decisions. The way I delegate is, decisions that you can recover from, like type 2 kind of decisions. We like to delegate that to a team and give them the ownership and the ability to solve that. Whereas focus really involvement on type 1 kind of decisions, which are not reversible easily. So those are the two or three things that I think should be done to cultivate that kind of culture.
And what sort of leadership that you look forward when you're, looking forward the type one and type two? So, what type of discussions that you think that the leadership should really have to understand that space of experiment, or what sort of culture that, you can, bring into the leaderships where these sort of priority models can be defined.
Yeah, I think it should really come from the top. The person running the company has to value and inculcate a leadership culture which values the ability for delegation, right? So making sure that there are certain decisions that you can allow your team to make so they feel ownership towards the outcome. That really should come from the very top. The second thing is having high level and the right metrics to observe the health of the business, so you know where you should get involved and when, rather than micromanaging every aspect of execution of the company. So really, I think as long as you have the right culture in a company where leadership understands that in order to attract and retain high quality talent, you need to give them some space to execute, knowing which metrics to observe to really know if the team is doing well or if you need to be involved. I think those two things go a long way.
Well, thank you. So going back towards a woman and an entrepreneur or woman and a tech, which is most talked place, but really understand the insight of it. What are some of the key advantages that you really think that you got being a women entrepreneur? And what were some of the key challenges that you think like, it, I mean, I'm not asking this question from the gender biased point of view, but in general, that is a perception that the community holds. At really on the work front, it doesn't matter. But just to get that division sorted, what are some key advantages as being a woman that we really get, and what are some key challenges that we really face when we march out on the entrepreneurship journey, starting from fundraising to any sort of leadership decisions that you would make?
As a woman entrepreneur, I think one of the greatest strengths lies in embracing my diversity. That's what I realized, rather than trying to conform to a traditional mold that was created by someone else. So, this perspective brings unique insights and approaches to the business, fostering really innovation and creativity. However, this journey isn't without its challenges, right? Overcoming biases and establishing credibility, it often takes longer for women entrepreneurs, which then requires a lot of perseverance and resilience. So, a crucial factor in my ability to flourish both professionally and personally is having Sachin, my husband, be an equal partner at home. His support and shared responsibility in our personal life empowers me to focus and excel in my professional endeavors as well. And finally, I remain optimistic about the future, especially regarding diversity in entrepreneurship. I see it changing in just the last 5 years, with many more women entrepreneurs starting companies and actually running it themselves. So I firmly believe that diverse perspectives and experiences, like I said, lead to better business outcomes. This has been proven and studied. I think it drives innovation and fosters a more inclusive and dynamic business landscape, which overall will help the entrepreneurship community.
Wonderful. So when you say that, having an equal partner at home also matters. Now that same equal partner, you have decided to take it further as your business partner, and you have started the Osciller, which is your new product-based company. So I like to understand what kind of balance that you also seek at your business side when you are working with Sachin.
Yeah, at Osciller, Sachin and I have set it up like any other tech company where we are co founders. Our complementary skill sets play a crucial role in reducing unnecessary overlap in responsibilities. So it allows us to focus on our respective areas of expertise efficiently. The most important aspect of our successful founder dynamic is the mutual trust and respect we share, which comes naturally to us. And this foundation of trust really, I believe, facilitates open and honest conversations. It really makes it easier to navigate both the challenges and the triumphs of running a startup together. So balancing professional and family journey involves, I believe, clear communication, setting boundaries, respecting each other's roles, both in business as well as home. And finally, we prioritize our time to ensure that our professional commitments enhance rather than impede our family life. So this harmony is key to maintaining a healthy and supportive environment, both at Osciller as well as in our personal lives.
Wow. But that's actually, it's not that simple that you sounded. It's a lot more challenging and complex, I'm sure. Especially having a son and, raising a kid in the family where both of them are, working for the success of some different challenges in the industry is really, what should I say, very delicate matter to handle. So how do you really make sure that, as a mom, that there is a less pinch of a guilt of spending a right side of a quality time with your family or the young family that you have. So how do you kind of, work towards that or, find out your satisfactory metrics to be in the place where you can operate with your full potential at both sides?
So, as a mom, balancing work and personal life to ensure quality time with my children involves, I believe, intentional planning and setting clear boundaries. So, I prioritize and actually schedule dedicated time for family, and this ensures that this time is undisturbed. It focuses solely on being present with my children. I also involve them in understanding my work, which helps in creating this sort of shared experience and mutual respect for each other's time. And I focus on the quality of interactions rather than just the quantity. So, making sure that the time we actually spend together is meaningful, it's engaging, it's consistent on a day to day basis. So, this approach really has helped me minimize feelings of not spending enough time together, and it also fostered a strong and nurturing bond. There are some days where you doubt yourself, but overall I've seen this turn into a very flourishing relationship.
So same goes at a personal side, and the same goes at a work side as well. But being a founder, you're working at all the landscapes. There are multiple layers where you have to operate. So how sort of your prioritization model works, where when there are tons of problems exist when you are growing up any company or a product, how do you sort of prioritize and make sure that those are the important ones to focus on versus the urgent ones to work on?
Yeah, as a founder, effectively navigating the business landscape, it requires a lot of strategic prioritization and a ton of focus. So, my strategies are first of all, clear goal setting. So, defining very clear and achievable goals. It helps in maintaining focus and also directing efforts where they are most impactful. The second is, developing a true customer centric approach. So, keeping a close ear to customer feedback and needs, ensuring that our solutions and our work remain relevant and valuable and also very timely. So there's a bucket where priorities are driven by customer needs, and that should always be the case in addition to goal setting. The third is, I believe in agile adaptation. So being agile and adaptable in response to market conditions or your own goals that you've set for the company or your customers' needs. It's really crucial in prioritizing and staying ahead and relevant. And last but not the least is really effective delegation. You cannot possibly do everything yourself. Recognizing that and delegating effectively has been key in managing on various fronts without losing sight of the bigger picture.
So when you say about delegating, there are still some of the aspect where you absolutely want to have the overview or get the reports to personally look into. What are those areas or what are those specific areas that you, from your personal experience, that you have decided? Although these are good to delegate, it is good to supervise or have end of the day getting my head on top of those areas. So what are those areas of work that you think that is, I mean, I understand it is can be delegated, it can yield a similar results or same results, but still I want to have my own handshake there.
Yeah, it's essentially you need to keep an eye on and really deeply understand the market. That is one. You can't purely depend on a team to do that. You need to spend time and understand, different solutions in the market, where the market is going. The second is developing a clarity in vision. That's something your team is less effective in doing that. You're more effective and it has to come from you. And the third is, key metrics. You just really need to watch the execution and how effective your team is at executing. And based on that, know where you need to get involved firsthand and get your hands dirty and win. So the three things that I believe as a CEO one should do.
Okay. So when you're, wearing a different hat of advisory or, you're a startup advisor, you're investor also. So are these a similar fashion or similar qualities of a sort of a person that you look forward when you invest in somebody's venture, or it is solely based on the idea, the product, or it's a combination?
Yeah, the first thing I look for is whether the team has selected a very large market to address. I think as long as you address a large market, you get some wiggle room to make mistakes and find product market fit. So you get ample opportunity that way. The second thing I look for is a strong team. So I look for founders who are visionaries, who have clarity of vision, a long-term vision, as well as people who are very execution driven, who know that startups are all about iteration and about small changes every day and about relentless execution. So really look for that kind of persistence in the founding teams. I think like large market and strong team in the early days are the top two indicators of success that I look for.
So when you come across with these different startups which are coming for your advices or the investments, what are some of the key challenges in the ecosystems currently that you see are existing? And if they could be solved, or somebody, let's say, come over and oversight them, what are those areas to make sure that every startup will flourish or, get that clear path of execution or the leadership? What are some of the ecosystem challenges that are there today?
Yeah, I think first is within a startup's control is building a strong team, and that is paramount. So capable and diverse team can creatively solve any challenge that comes their way. The second is, like I said, selecting a large market to address is crucial. This is also in a startup's control. It provides the necessary room for iteration on the product until you can achieve product market fit, and it offers ample opportunity to build a thriving business. But on the ecosystem front, I believe that mentorship and developing a strong advisory network is critical to a startup success. You might do that by inviting the right investors or recruiting the right board members or simply recruiting advisors to come advise and help you. And access to experienced mentors and advisors really allows startups to stand on the shoulder of giants, benefiting from their wisdom and experiences, and consequently making fewer mistakes. So, this support structure, I think, not only accelerates growth, but it also helps in navigating the complex landscape of entrepreneurship with much more confidence and clarity than you might otherwise have.
So, as a first time founder, what are some of the mistakes that you think you have done and you like to mention it to some of the first time founders who are struggling to get there? That, these are sort of mistakes that are commonly happen, but, we kind of overlook types. Would you like to share some?
Yeah, I think like the primary thing that comes to mind for me is timing of hiring the right leaders. So you're not too involved in doing something. So I think like oftentimes as founders, you feel a ton of ownership, which is normal towards the problem, and you're continuously worried about finding the right solution to the problem, which means that you're aggressively involved in solving it and executing it on day to day, and might actually lose focus of the fact that this is the time to attract the right talent to help you scale and help you, find the time that you need to focus on strategy as well as vision in addition to just execution. So that for me was a learning lesson, is to find the right timing to attract the right executive into the company to help me do that. That I think goes a really long way in avoiding mistakes, because as long as you have the right team, as long as you're scaling yourself, you have a lot of room for success.
Wonderful. So I'll just go back to your childhood, where you come from India. How was it different versus operating and learning over here? And these are like two different cultures that we're talking. And in spite of all the odds that you could, as an immigrant, you could stand tall with the economy that we are looking forward to. So, what are some of the key roots that you think that have helped you flourish and nourish much better as today's Neha?
I think the first thing was the appreciation for hard work. I really learned that, and I believe that in India we do have a culture of respecting hard work and really focusing on achieving something meaningful on the professional front, in addition to the personal front. So I really learned the value of hard work. That is one. Second thing, as an immigrant, I think, generally speaking, and specifically for me as well, I didn't take anything for granted. So I knew and had the mindset that I will have to earn my place in the market, in the space, and will have to establish myself, which means needed to develop a growth mindset and make sure that even if I didn't know something on day one, if I tried hard and I worked hard, that I will be able to learn that skill eventually, and that I needed to prove myself before I expect any kind of return. Yeah, and that, I think those were the two qualities that were very much rooted in India and that helped me along the way on the entrepreneurial journey.
Wonderful. So, if I have to ask you, now that you have been settled here for so long, more than 2 decades, I believe, how do you still keep up your own culture alive, especially the Maharashtrian culture that you belong to? How do you make sure that your children are inheriting some of the values or some of the important aspect that every cultural space exists? So, how do you, sort of manage that?
We actively talk about our culture on a day-to-day basis. We have reading time that happens daily with our children, and we have ordered and collected books that speak about our festivals, speak about our culture, speak about also religious influences in our lives, and that develops curiosity in our children's minds about our culture. The second thing is, we take the time to really celebrate our festivals and use that as an opportunity to introduce our children to our culture and keep that alive. And the third is, we spend a lot of time with grandparents. We make sure that they get a lot of quality time with them on a regular basis, because grandparents bring a very rich and deep perspective on culture, and also have a lot more time to do that with the children while we're working. So those three things I think have gone a long way. And finally, I will say that we speak to them in Marathi. So we expect and we teach them to speak back in Marathi. And although it's a challenge because they spend much more time with teachers and friends who speak in English, we have a culture at home where we place importance on learning our language, because that's a channel and a pathway to keeping in touch with our culture too.
Wow. And also being multilingual adds a more space in the brain. Like, they're like, they say like those are like more very emotionally intelligent kids you can develop by, easily exposing them to different languages. So they tend to pick up the literature fast, tend to learn the cultures fast, tend to understand, how the diversified world is and how it really looks.
I completely agree. I believe that the multilingual and also multicultural approach is very rich for them to learn. and also you will develop their brain differently.
So coming back to your next journey of Osciller, the initial problem that you solved, which was, I wouldn't say it was an accidental, it was a very intentional move that you took after finding out the Kafka, which is open source software catering to a different sort of problem where the market also was kind of not existed. But now you are moving to the space where the market exists, where the problems exist, which is very much customer focused and the product oriented. It was not the one that existed before. So it's a totally different approach, totally different sort of a problem that you're solving. So how did you make sure that, being successful entrepreneur at the Confluent and getting so much of attention, and especially like there is a less chance of mistakes when you're a second time entrepreneur. So how did you take up that challenge and how did you embrace the problem that existed in the risk and fraud industry?
Yeah, in transitioning from Confluent to Osciller, my decision to focus on fraud and risk decisioning and detection was significantly influenced by my experiences with Kafka and Confluent. So one of the largest use cases and problems that Confluent solves is in the real-time fraud and risk decisioning space. So this exposure to the space, it actually allowed me to deeply understand the challenges that companies face in combating fraud and managing risk. And leveraging this experience, I then did a deep market research. I spoke to dozens of risk leaders who are the buyers to validate the challenges that they were encountering and to refine the ideal solution I had in mind. So these conversations were really instrumental in shaping my perspective and my approach to addressing the issue. And like I said, my belief is that the market should be substantially large. And the market here is worth approximately 200 billion, which actually presents a really significant opportunity for impactful innovation. And as a technologist, I'm particularly passionate about, tall technology challenges and of building an AI-powered real-time risk platform is a really hard problem. And so working with a smart team to solve a hard problem is really interesting to me on a day-to-day basis. And from a timing perspective, there's an urgency of solving this problem. Consumers lose about $8 billion annually. Companies lose hundreds of billions of dollars each year. And we need to trust the internet because we do everything online. So this is a very apt problem and a large enough problem to solve that is close to my heart. So my transition was, very much influenced by, my understanding of the problem space and how large that market and the problem is. Those two things had to come together and me picking Osciller as my next journey.
And how did you make sure that this journey will be shaped up with your second half or, your best half?
Yeah, I think, Sachin has deep experience building similar technologies in his 11-year tenure at Facebook Meta. And it made a very clear choice for the best chief technology officer that I could ever attract to my startup. So I'm fortunate that he agreed to start this company with me. So it was a very straightforward choice, and like I said earlier, we have complementary skill sets. So I focus a lot more on the business side, he focus a lot more on the technology side. So together we make for a really strong team.
Wow. And when you come out as a second time founder, what are some of the kind of aura that you have to break through to make sure that although you're a second time founder, taking up something as new, you're still at new and getting the experienced hand. Like it's kind of a both combination. Like you are still innocent to face the new journey, but still experienced and wise enough to take your steps. So how do you ensure that you are, some of the past experiences or some of the past path will not collide here or will not work here? So how do you kind of look at those steps very neutrally and say to yourself that this is a new step and I should not always count on this, but probably should be open to something new? So how do you kind of hit that path?
The first is I have a growth mindset. So whenever I approach something new, I know that if I spend enough time on it, I can embrace that new challenge. So whenever I'm faced with a new problem, like Osciller is different from Confluent because it's not open source and it's a completely different ballgame to build a company on a closed source product than on an open source one. So that growth mindset really helps me on a day-to-day basis. The second is curiosity. So I'm naturally curious as a person, and I apply that to my entrepreneurship journey and style as well, and are continuously looking for different ways to solve a problem versus shoehorning myself in the old way or the old experience that I had. And the third is humility. Ultimately, I realized that even though you're on the second time journey, there are different problems, different people, different markets involved, and that I shouldn't take anything for granted. So, although from an execution perspective, there are a lot of common things that, common problems to how you build a company that really is my strength as a second time founder. But at the same time, I am curious and humble enough to know that I need to make sure that I can learn new things on a new journey.
Wow. And how do you kind of, take out that time for yourself? Like, this is my time where I will be absolutely working on some of the challenges that I should be solving or learning different things. How do you kind of shape your day?
Actually, specifically schedule time for, deep thinking. And that deep thinking could be categorized as market research or competitive research, or the second kind of slot is studying different metrics of the company to make sure I deeply understand how we are doing and where I need to be involved. And the third is I spend a lot of time on hiring, like any CEO should, to make sure that you always have the right team to scale your company. And last but not the least, I speak to our customers quite a bit on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm fully involved and they know me and we have a relationship that goes beyond delivering the product to solve their problem. And those are the four ways in which I slice my day or my week, depending on which day we're talking about.
Wow, wonderful. I love the last one that you still have the handshake with the real customers so that you learn it's a first time user that what really goes in versus getting the narrative from someone and understanding the situation.
Yes, exactly. It goes a very long way. Ultimately, if you're customer oriented, you have a business, otherwise, you don't.
Yeah. So Neha, so far you have unfolded a lot. Maybe now is the time to go to the rapid fire. I'll ask some of the questions. It is not point of view that we are judging any answers, but it is point of view we would like to understand how today's entrepreneurs are really thinking, or how it can benefit the community if they were looking forward to much similar journey. So is that okay?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
So if you were given a magic wand today, and you had to solve any next challenge that exists in the world today, what it could be, and the magic wand that you have is with ample of resources that you need. Whatever is the best situation or the place that you want to be in, you are there, and you just have to solve the problem that exists. So what it will be?
Yeah, for me, I think the next problem I want to solve is have a full time focus on structured philanthropy in the areas that I deeply care about.
Oh, wow. What is one book that you recommend that every teenager should
I
read?
think every teenager should consider reading To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I think this classic offers a very profound narrative on justice, morality, empathy, integrity, and the complexities of human nature.
And what is the best advice that you think you have ever received from your mentor that you kind of keep it to yourself? That's a go-to advice.
I think to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable every day, if you're learning something new, you are experiencing doubt and anxiety. So to get comfortable with that idea of being uncomfortable is the best advice I've received.
And what sort of go-to activity that you kind of leverage or cherish as your own me time?
I like working out, whether it's just a simple walk or it is working out in the gym. I really value that. It enhances my me time and how I feel later on too.
Okay, so just changing the place and changing the perspective gives you the good freshness.
Absolutely.
And if I have to ask you, like, as an entrepreneur journey, it's every day is sometimes it's a bigger fall, sometimes it's a bigger jump. So when you go to bigger falls, that's the most important time you have to protect your mindset. So whenever any down moments comes in the journey, what is one story that you tell yourself to march up even higher?
Yeah, I read this somewhere and it really resonated with me. I remember the story of the Chinese bamboo tree during tough times. So it teaches patience and perseverance. I think the tree story is the tree grows very slowly for the first few years, but in the fifth year, it grows to about 80 feet. So this story kind of shows that with consistent effort and resilience, it can lead to remarkable growth and success. even if that progress is not immediately apparent on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful story to tell yourself. I thought you would tell you a story about, how the Kafka came to life, how kind of emerged, but this is much more deeper than that.
Thank you.
So now that we have come to an end of the show and we address the passionate community who are looking forward to take their passion further, but at the same time, most of the entrepreneurs are looking forward to build billion-dollar companies. So what sort of advice that you can give from your experience or your perception to them that if they have to build any billion-dollar company, what are the some of the key important areas that they should be focusing, or what kind of quality advice that you think you would like to give it to them?
Yeah, my advice to aspiring founders aiming to build a billion-dollar tech company is to focus on solving a genuinely large-scale problem with a solution that is fully validated by the target buyer and the user. So it's not just about having a groundbreaking idea, it's actually about addressing a need that can impact a vast market that people are actually ready to pay for. And combine this with relentless execution, I think a willingness to learn and adapt and the ability to build and lead a team that shares your vision actually goes a long way. The advice I give people is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So resilience and long-term thinking are key.
Wow. Now that we have come to the end of the show, is there any specific age group that you would like to address with sort of a question that you have in mind? Because I see like the teenagers who are about to start the high school, or about to take up their professional curriculum is a very important segment to address. If we catch hold of that segment very tightly, or we bring the good focus and turn around their passions in the or channelize it, that can lead the way. So is there anything you would like to address to that age group or to any age group that you feel is closed and need to be addressed well?
I think the age group is basically what you said. I think high schoolers, that moment in a person's life is really instrumental in determining long-term success. So my advice to the age group is really to value the hard work and how important it is to live a fruitful life.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha, for sharing your time with us and bringing out a good wisdom. I'm sure after hearing this conversation, many founders, many startup founders, or who are looking forward to march their journey, they will think through, they will go deep, they will try to validate a lot of possibilities before they enter the market, and they'll do a much research oriented projects before they take it. That's what I think that will happen. That any new problem that you encounter, and just don't jump in. It takes a lot of, as she said, like how the bamboo tree goes, it takes a lot to go within, or the roots have to go that strong, then only that the emergent line can happen. So I'm sure that they have gained the valuable advice from you, and really thank you. And in spite of all the odds, you could make out this time for Passionate Pulse.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated your thoughtful questions. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. This was Neha Narkhede, a 2X founder from a very big tech company, Confluent and Osciller. Let us know in the comments, how did this episode turn out to be? Did you enjoy some insights that you were looking forward to? Did you find any kind of advice that if you're looking forward to start your own startup journey? Did you see this was insightful, and did this give you a different shape of mind today to think about your next venture that you want to explore about? Well, whatever your thoughts are, do mention in the comments. In the description box, I have listed the form that you need to fill up quickly to figure out, or sort of give us a suggestions about the type of guest that you're looking forward to, the problem space that you think needs to be answered on this Passionate Pulse podcast. And also don't forget to mention what is your passion project that you would like to take up further as your next startup venture. Well, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like this episode, as well as subscribe to the channel Passionate Pulse Podcast. Your host Pranali signing off. Thank you. Namaskar.